Welcome to the Middlesex Moments radio show. I'm Dr. Anna Wasesha, president of Middlesex Community College, and joining me today is Mark Benigni. And Mark is the superintendent of the Meriden Public Schools, and his last name's just about as difficult to pronounce as mine, so we have that in common. What we also have in common is that we are the leaders of the educational institutions who are producing not only the workforce of the future, but the citizens who will keep our democracy strong, and the individuals who will make strong relationships with their families, their friends, and their neighbors, so that our communities are the kinds of places we want to live. We have a lot on our shoulders. One of the things that I thought we might start talking about is the recent decision by the state legislature to encourage community colleges to stop offering a developmental education, which I think many people think of and understand as remedial education, at the very lowest levels of, and we've been offering math and English courses to students who test, regrettably at levels that are almost elementary school age. And in that regard, here's something I'd love to hear what you think about. I read something about the achievement gap here in Connecticut, and one of the things that I read was that middle and upper income students who have many, many benefits, resources at home and safe communities and good schools, they test at a certain level in English and math when they are seniors in high school. Their counterparts who are low-income, students of color, children who grow up in neighborhoods that aren't safe, parents perhaps out of the workforce, they test at 3.5 years behind those well-resourced peers. What are we going to do about that?
Well, thanks, Anna, and I won't try to pronounce your name, and whatever way you pronounce mine works too. I think that's the biggest challenge facing Connecticut right now. We call it an achievement gap, but it's truly an economic gap.
Right.
And what we see is students who come from families that have the means to support them and live in safe, quality housing areas perform at the highest of levels. And those who don't are facing all these extra challenges in addition to educational bar that continues to rise and rise and rise, because we're no longer just competing with ourselves. We're competing in a global economy that we need to be a player at the table. So I think if we're ever going to address this achievement gap, we also have to address the economic gap and the societal gap that our students are facing.
And so I'm just shaking my head because, where do you start? For example, last week I was talking with Betsy Morgan, who she's the director of the Coalition for Children in Middlesex County. And she said that among 3-year-olds, children who are in high-income, middle-income families have vocabularies of 800 words. Working class children, 3-year-olds, have about 600 words, and then low income have about 400 words. So it starts way before they enter your kindergarten.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think the state has taken some steps that I think will be helpful, looking at increasing school readiness slots, assuring that all students have a quality pre-K experience is an important first step. But I don't think that alone will level the playing field. We have to recognize that some students don't go home to an environment that is conducive to learning. And I think we need to do everything we can to level the playing field and make sure that all students can read by grade 3.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and I think obviously it starts out by having a rich vocabulary. And you're right, families that support reading. We have to take a break. We'll be right back, and we'll take on the big problems of the world when we do that. Well, welcome back. This is Anna Wasesha from Middlesex Community College, Middlesex Moments radio show, and Mark Benigni, superintendent of the public schools in Meriden, and I are trying to take a bite out of the elephant, trying to figure out what are we going to do with the issues that we confront in education. And so we were talking about leadership, and you said you had just written an article?
Yeah, we just co-authored a couple articles with my board president, Mark Hughes, and one of them was entitled The Inspirational Leader, and one of them was titled The Supportive Leader, around the same themes, but all with the same message. We're never going to address this problem by beating up our teachers or beating up our staff or by putting additional pressure on the urban educational institutions. The way we're going to do it is by putting extra resources and extra supports in place, not for the teaching staff so much as for the students that they are dealing with every day. Because if we really want a society that's going to thrive, then we need to make sure that we're taking care of our most needy students, and we should start at the earliest of levels, and that would be with pre-K.
Right. So what kinds of resources, if you ran the world and had unlimited resources, just imagine for a moment, what would you do?
I think definitely we would look to have quality pre-K experiences required for all of our students. We would have full day K for all students. We would need some wraparound services as well. We need strong interventions if students are struggling with reading early on. Let's not wait till they get to middle and high school when we know the problem is that much more difficult to solve. But I don't think we can look at these problems in isolation. So I think from an educational standpoint, I'm going to look to put resources into support programs for kids. I'm going to make sure that they're all being challenged at the highest levels. And when I'm seeing a problem, and there's enough tests out there now, there's enough data that tells us when a student is struggling, we need to make sure that we have the interventions in place to support those students. But at the same time, unless we develop the community around them, we're going to be right back to square one. Connecticut, while it has the largest achievement gap, it probably has the largest economic gap out of any state. I mean, we go from very affluent to some of the most depressed neighborhoods in the country. That's a significant issue. So looking at this through an educational lens alone will not solve the problem. We need to address affordable housing. We need to address quality health care. We need to address crime rates in our urban centers. We need to address the flight. And the flight is not, the flight that we're seeing is an economic flight. People with the means are leaving the cities for the surrounding suburbs, and it's exacerbating the problem in the urban core.
Wow. I didn't know that. I didn't know. I mean, so, I'm still relatively new here, so you think about like the dense urban centers, and what you're seeing is people moving away to the suburbs. And it seems to me, as a newcomer, Connecticut is almost so suburban. There's just, it's not really rural in the way that I knew rural. 3,000 acre wheat farms, but instead it's just like houses and houses and houses, out there, and 7 acres a lot, lots that are really quite large. So they move away from the city.
They're moving from the urban areas,
Yeah,
and that creates additional challenges for those urban communities. And let's be honest, some of the folks that are leaving are the folks that are volunteering in our schools, but are also volunteering at our community agencies, attending our churches and synagogues, volunteering at our little leagues and softball leagues, taking memberships out with our not-for-profits, whether it's the Y, the Boys and Girls Club, Girls Inc. So you're really losing that core fabric that makes a community. And what makes a community strong is diversity, and we need to celebrate that, and we need to support that. And then I think if we do that in conjunction with investing in our students and making sure that they have the resources they need to be successful, then we can really take a bite out of this achievement gap or economic gap. Mm-hmm. But that takes political will and people to have courageous conversations that sometimes are difficult to have.
How long have you been superintendent now?
I'm in my 3rd year as superintendent.
And you were mayor. I mean, I think you really are remarkable, because I don't think I've ever met anybody who's been both an elected official. First an elected official, and then...
I think that makes me crazy. I'm not sure that is remarkable. Yeah, I mean, I had a great experience being mayor. I spent parts of 4 terms as mayor. I stepped down in my 4th term to take a principal job in a suburban community, and really enjoyed it. I stepped down in part because I was working as an assistant principal, mayor, and we were starting to raise a family, and that was difficult to do. And do a good job at everything, but I loved the job as mayor, and I felt I could impact the direction of the city. But my thoughts have not changed as a superintendent or as a mayor. We need to make sure that we offer something for everyone, and that we keep our diversity in our community, and that will be our strength. And in keeping our diversity, that means making sure that we're challenging our highest performing students, and also that we're supporting our most needy students. And it also means that there's an economic diversity in the community as well. And what you see in some urban areas is they've lost that economic diversity. And when that happens, what's left is a very difficult challenge.
And we don't even want to get into the minutia of school finance. But as property levels, as the value of property decreases, I'm assuming there's a difficult time getting the resources that you would need from that base. Isn't property tax a big base of?
Property tax is a huge base on how the state funds,
Yeah.
and the state is still wrestling with it. I'm actually serving on the Education Cost Sharing Task Force that Governor Malloy established, and we're really talking about how can we provide equity across the state to our schools.
Right.
Because we know that the only chance, and this is why I love the community colleges, they really give everyone a fighting chance for success. And we need to embrace that, and I feel at the most simple level that a public school system gives every kid a chance for a brighter future, just as I think the community college gives every student a chance to go on and be successful in life and attend college.
Yeah. The beauty of the community college is it extends a lifetime. So sometimes, there's unequal development. Some people aren't ready to take advantage of college, but they can do it when they're 37, and they can do it when they're 52. And we're just always, the doors are really open. You, on the other hand, have the challenge, you've got a fixed period of time in which you can make an impact on a young person, make them a student, yeah.
And I think we're placing our bets in Meriden now. We're placing it definitely on the early learning component. We're going to launch full-day kindergarten, which has been long overdue for the district. It's a costly endeavor. The conditional funding coming from the state, it will help us launch that initiative.
Will every child be able to go?
Every child who's a public school student in Meriden will have a full-day kindergarten experience starting next year.
And the day spans from?
The day will be a typical elementary school day, so about 8:45 to 3:15.
Yeah.
So no longer a half day. And that presents its own set of challenges, but I know that's what I would want for my own child, so that's what I want for every student.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think you have 2 children?
2 children.
Yeah.
And they'll both be attending Thomas Hooker Elementary School in Meriden next year, and they're excited. But Meriden did not offer a pre-K program, a full-day pre-K program, and they did not offer a full-day kindergarten program. So both of our children got that experience in a private setting, and now the public school setting next year will be where they go to school, and they're excited.
What do your kindergarten teachers say about this?
I think definitely there's a little bit of nervousness because change always brings some of that, but I think they're excited. I think they feel like it's long overdue. They know colleagues in other communities that have benefited from the kindergarten experience, and I think while it presents challenges, I think they're up for the challenges. They're excited. We made sure that we've given them the training they need, because it's not about giving every kid a full-day kindergarten experience so much as it's about raising the bar. So if I give them a full-day kindergarten experience, then I need my first grade teachers to raise the bar, my second grade teachers to raise the bar, and ultimately you at your level will get a better quality student as well.
Well, exactly. In a perfect world, we wouldn't be even arguing about whether or not we should offer the lowest levels of developmental. We'd be trying to figure out how to offer the honors programs for the students who are ready to sail through here and take on the world. How many kindergartens do you have, classes in Meriden?
We'll have next year over 30, I think 31 kindergarten classes.
With how many children in each, roughly?
We try to keep them 24 or less, depending on where the school is and the numbers. You could go anywhere from 18 to 25. Each kindergarten classroom will have a full-time para in the room with the teacher.
That's wonderful. And that's a lot of 5-year-olds that you'll have on,
We paid for a kindergarten experience for our daughter, and there was 31 students with 1 teacher and 1 para, and that was at a paid private program.
Yeah.
A little bit different because if the students don't behave, and we were a little afraid that we might get the call if the students are not behaving or participating in the program the way that the school required, you would be dismissed from the program. Public school doesn't give that option. So with that said, we were thrilled that our daughter Bria did a great job at the program, but I think my wife and I were wondering, how will she do in a full-day kindergarten program, and will the support she needs be there as well?
Yeah, well, when we come back, we have to take another break. Let's talk about play, the role of play with children, because I think, to some degree, the traditional pushback against full-day kindergarten was you don't want to institutionalize a child for 6 hours a day. They need the freedom to do whatever 5-year-olds or 3-year-olds or 4-year-olds do. So we'll take a break, and we'll come back and talk about play. Well, welcome back. This is Anna Wasesha from Middlesex Community College, and Mark Benigni from the Meriden Public Schools, superintendent of those schools, is here today talking with me about education, naturally. And we were just talking about play because, when young children, 5-year-olds, are in school all day, some people worry that their imaginations won't be able to run wild, that they won't be able to develop the affective side of their, and the social and all the other things that happen when they're not in a structured environment. So what do you think about that?
I think we need to value play. Our board took a step and made sure that every student would have recess every day, in part because they wanted that play experience. So even if a student had PE in class, they would still have recess. For our kindergarten, we want play to be an important component of that. And while we take our CMT and our CAP scores very seriously because there's so much at stake on these high-stakes standardized testing, By no means will we ever judge ourselves solely on a testing measure. And with that said, we want to encourage our teachers and our students to have an opportunity to play. And I think there's a lot to be learned through play. Having someone who's really embraced sports and activities my whole life, I think that there were lessons that I learned from being a member of a team. There were lessons I learned from going out in the backyard by myself and throwing that ball up in the air and swinging the bat as well. One of our best birthday parties we have two children, Bria's 6 and Blake is 5. And probably for me, the most rewarding birthday parties was a party we just had for my son. And we did have a bounce house set up. You needed to have something there, but we kind of just let the kids play, and there was no direction, there was no set activities, there was no time schedule. All right, you're here, go play. And we have a playroom upstairs, it's kind of the kids' play area. We have a basement where there's some games. We had the bounce house, we have a swing set in the back, and no parent direction, no adult direction, just have fun. And you know what we found? The kids enjoyed it. No one was left alone or feeling left out. They kind of just took care of themselves. And I think we've lost that a little bit. Everything is so structured.
I think so. I mean, the soccer mom idea suggests that you have a child who's going from school to their appointments, their music lessons, their soccer practice, and their Kaplan's the Kaplan thing that they pay money to try to up their SAT scores, all of that stuff. And I agree with you. I mean, I think that children need to learn to know themselves, and often the only way to do it is to let their imaginations run wild.
And we don't judge what I think is the most important. And I say this all the time to our staff. If we created schools that had great test scores that students never wanted to go to, that our teachers were miserable every day, what would we have? What would we have created? In the end, where would we be? We'd get a gold star for improving test scores, and what would we have created? So I'm very much in tune that we need to make sure that our schools are places of discovery, creativity, and fun. And if fun doesn't fit into the equation, it's not going to be a place where people like to work, and it's definitely not going to be a place that kids want to go to school.
Right. So what do you read, or what have you read in your life that inspired you to want to be an educator? Or
I have 2 books, and it's more in my leadership program that I think Leading with Soul and The Dream Manager. And I believe that our work should inspire folks' dreams. And I also believe that the part of your soul needs to be into your work, and that's what will fulfill you. And those 2 texts, I think, definitely influence my leadership style. And they're not from the Harvard Business School. They're simple reads, but they make me reflect a lot on what I want for myself and what I want for my team. And I just think I feel very strongly that we'll get the best results from students and from staff when they want to be there, when they're feeling appreciated, when they're feeling involved. And yet I know that we're under this large push for improved test scores and judging us solely based on a number. But school's so much more than that. And our kids are better than just a number, and whatever I can do to play by the rules of the game, but also to support my staff and my students and recognize that there's a bigger world out there and that there's important skills that can't be judged in a standardized test.
Oh, I know.
I feel I need to say it. And part of that is the skills that students learn through play, through creative assignments, through working together in small groups and teams. And, that's a challenge right now.
Yeah. I read the most remarkable thing. I keep mulling over this idea that there are all these job openings out there, and we have all these unemployed people. And so some of the summary of that, what people conclude from that fact is that schools aren't preparing people for the jobs that exist, and we have a problem that we have to correct. However, this article said that now most applications for employment are online. And so, hundreds of people fill out these applications online, and then the computer is programmed to look for certain things, to sift through those applications and pull out specific words that would trigger them to have an interest to interview those people. And it's a problem because it used to be that human beings would read these things, and you could feel from the way that somebody constructed that first paragraph introducing themselves in that letter of application, you could feel a sense of their personhood. And we made different kinds of decisions. And that's kind of goes exactly to what you're saying about a student is a lot more than just a test score. Because when you reduce it, you throw out that human element, and you really miss what's most important, I think.
Someone asked me what I value most when I hire someone, and it's emotional intelligence. I need people who get it, who get how to work with other people, who get they're part of something larger than just their classroom. And we'll post for an elementary teaching position right now, and we'll have 1,000 applicants.
Right.
And it's all online, so they apply here, they apply. How do you sift through 1,000 and find those gems?
Yeah, that's my question,
And
Yeah.
it's very, very difficult. So you rely some on, have they worked in your district before? Do they have references coming from, has someone sent you an email, a personal contact? I mean, basically, the computer system takes that personal element out, but nothing means more to me than if a fellow colleague calls me and takes the time to pick up the phone, to call and say, hey, I think this candidate would be terrific. Well, right away, that's a candidate that I'm not going to guarantee I'm going to bring for an interview, and I'm definitely going to go look at their paperwork.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's something about the massification of things. It doesn't really work. That's why it's great your kindergarten classes are as small as they are. Because I think the other day, Michael Roth at Wesleyan, I think he who said that they had 10,000 applications for 750 seats. Yeah. So, one wonders, how do you read 10,000 applications, and it's obviously very important to people to want to get into that college or any other college, or it's very important to a person who's looking for a job to get a job, a teacher who's come through, but we just because of the volume, we use these mass approaches, and I don't know. There's got to be a better way.
There sure does.
There's got to be. So, well, tell me, when you think about the next 3 to 5 years, I know it's maybe a hard question to answer. I never know what I'm going to see when I look in the crystal ball. But 3 to 5 years from now, how will the Meriden schools look different?
Well, in the next 3 to 5 years, they'll look structurally a little bit different because we'll have 2 new high schools. We'll have some renovated schools. System-wide, I think we'll probably have more extended time schools. Next year, we received an AFT, which is the American Federation of Teachers Innovation Grant, and we're going to launch, it's a 3-year grant, and we're going to launch our first extended day school at Casimir Pulaski School.
Oh, I love it, and I love that it's named Casimir.
So
tell me, what is an extended day? Let's talk about that.
Sure. And again, it's a change, so not everyone's going to embrace it fully, but we'll get them the information and we'll sort through it. Elementary students are going to start the day rather than at 8:50, at 7:30 in the morning. And every student who is at Pulaski, Pulaski next year is going to be a grade 1 through 5 school. All students, that's going to be their typical school day, 7:30 to 3:50, rather than the 7:30 to 3:20, rather than the 8:50 to 3:20 time slot. And that first hour and 20 minutes is going to involve 3 key areas. It's going to involve literacy. It's going to involve STEM, so our science, technology, engineering, and math component. And it's going to involve a healthy living or a healthy lifestyle component. Everyone's going to be provided a healthy breakfast. Every morning there'll be an exercise component. And then they'll swap the science, technology, engineering, and math in the literacy blocks. Mm-hmm. And really, it's going to be fun. It's going to be innovative. It's going to be exciting. And we think not only will it be exciting and fun for students, we think that it will help improve results too. It will add, time-wise, the time of 40 additional school days to the school year. And this isn't punitive. This is done as a creative, innovative way to move the school forward and to allow all of our students to get the type of instruction we want.
40 additional days on the basis of adding an hour and a half
every
a
morning.
Day, 5 days a week.
Yep.
However many school weeks.
An hour and 20 minutes. I believe it's about an hour and a half a morning, and it will give us 40 additional school days. Wow. And we know 180 days is not enough.
Right.
I mean, we're still operating on a go to the farm, help your parents mentality rather than let's get students in the class for what they need. So right now we're promoting the program. We're letting parents know. And we really think Our hope is that after a couple years, we pilot it at one school and then it transitions across the district, similar to Full Day K. We started at John Berry. Now it's going to be a district-wide initiative. My goal would be, in 3 to 5 years, to have all of our schools operating on it, all of our elementary schools operating on an extended day.
Yeah. I love that idea. So we'll talk about it 3 to 5 years from now.
I'll come back.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Well, we have to conclude the program. I'm sorry to say, half an hour goes so quickly. So this has been the Middlesex Moments radio show, and today I've been visiting with Mark Benigni, Superintendent of Meriden Public Schools, and I'm so pleased to have had this chance to talk with you. Thank you for coming over.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And for those listeners who want to learn more about community college here at Middlesex, it's our website is mxcc.edu. I'm Anna Wasesha, President of Middlesex Community College, wishing you a good day.